So we've talked about process structure, we've talked about people and culture. Can leadership and alignment can also be a reason for pilots being successful but rollouts failing? So your thoughts?
People person.
Yeah.
Nothing will start if that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If you cannot even talk about a pilot if leadership is not aligned, where do you get the funding?
Yeah.
Who will approve it?
But does that happen? That's what I'm saying. Does it happen in real life?
Personal productivity experiments, yes. I don't need a CEO's mandate to do personal productivity, LLM, nurturing on my desktop. Yes. Can I scale it and make an institutional impact? Probably not.
He's right. My engineers have asked me for laptops. So my engineers work on client side. So they're given client laptops. So they do not have much creativity to be done on the controlled environment, right? So they specifically asked for laptops which were developer laptops so that they could fiddle around in their free time. But that doesn't mean that that is going to come to the table and we'll build something out of it. There's one idea out of 100 which will probably be picked up and said, okay, yeah, this is great idea, let's go it. So the leadership at the top definitely needs to buy into that creative idea for me to make it happen.
Sometimes when you're experimenting and you want to do a lot of pilots, if you try to get the entire leadership team aligned, there is definitely a lack of, pace and velocity with which you could do it. But then those are more likely to succeed and get into scale if possible. On the ground, though, a lot of times the sponsorship of the pilot and the sponsorship of organizational scale could be slightly different, because the pilots, let's say, could be owned by the CIO, but the overall scaling up could be owned by the CEO. And the timing of when, the leaders get aligned also plays a big role in whether the pilot is successful or not. Of course, I'm not talking of these large scale, multi-million dollar, transformations where, of course, there's a lot of alignment, but on the ground, those are few. There's a lot more of, mini pilots that go in, which change customer experience, change developer experience, and so on. So leadership and alignment is important. What's also important is the timing of, how you do it. And that's where the leadership skills sort of come.
I think the point you made about that's in your example is political will. In terms
It's a leadership.
It's a leadership willingness. Now, we were talking about infrastructure in Bangalore. Now, that requires will to be improved. If it is not there, you can put any amount of technology or human into it. It will not improve.
It's not that the instruments are not there to ease it, but it's just the leadership and alignment.
I think one way leadership, a very practical way where leadership can create a culture of creating more pilots, experimenting, innovation is we do a lot of hackathons, right? Even our company, right? So we give problem statements. Then we tell the engineers, teams to, okay, go ahead, solve the problem. Come back and present it. It's a very controlled 2 days, 3 days, go and do it. So that way you're fostering a very good culture of, okay, let me look for problems, let me go and solve it. And then you come and present to the leadership. Then we look at it, we evaluate it. And then the good ones, we take it, we get it funded, we move it to production, right? Scale it. So I think that is where you are setting a tone as a leader of, hey, we encourage you to come up with ideas, pilot. I think what the flip side is, a lot of times it happens is a lot of pilots never see the end of this thing. So I think we need to kind of create that culture of at least we are able to take some of it into.
A capitalist society where shareholdership and quarter-to-quarter decision-making is celebrated, in fact mandated, that curtails a lot of this creative freedom of alignment. Like I might believe in an idea, but I cannot sell it to my shareholder because it will cost me X or take it Y. So, I mean, before 1971, when Friedman wrote this, it was still companies used to run. They had a very different moral philosophy. So you have to understand what kind of board dynamics shapes innovation hackathons. How many hackathons we have run, and we have gone back and back with more business cases than actually the time it took to run the hackathons. So that's where like the real vetting and accountability of a leader and the persona really, really matters. Like his chief minister in this case, or petroleum minister in that case, it really matters. So structurally very important, but it really becomes an individualistic or a very small group of collective people who mandate that top down.
So we have discussed a lot on it. Which of these are important? Why is it important, right? We have talked about process structure, people, culture, leadership, alignment. What I want to ask you is which of these are at risk of being wrong, getting wrong, right? So when I'm doing a pilot, which of these would you want to focus on, that this is where the risk lies? When we go to rollout, this can fail, right? So if I were to prioritize, and I will add 2 more, we don't need to get into it in detail. It's not an exhaustive list. So people and culture, strategy and leadership. We have talked about structure and processes, setting up wrong KPIs. Okay. Technology skill itself, right? Because many times we lack expertise. For example, generative AI as a thing, or agentic AI, we don't know if the people who are implementing, we have no background to check. There is no history there if they are actually experts on it. So these are 5-6 things. And again, like I said, it's not an exhaustive list. You can have the wrong timing to it and other areas as well. Which of these would you want to focus on when you are doing pilots? Because which of these would you say that when we go to rollouts, this is at risk, right? So can you give me some sort of a list, and you can add your own, variables there if you want.
I would say all of them are non-negotiable.
No, but I want to prioritize.
I don't think
For me, it would be leadership and alignment plus people and culture. Just going back to our example of the airframe and the engines, they had systemic failure in the leadership alignment as well as in people and culture, because it's not only aircrafts that had a problem, but they had this famous Starliner that is supposed to carry, crew to the ISS, International Space Station, and they had valve problems. So it's just not on aircrafts; it's even on spacecrafts. They had the similar. So it's again alignment. So their pilots were successful, but when you roll out into real life, you face challenges. So the leadership and alignment they were focused on profit. No, I get a fat bonus if I increase the shareholder share price. So I need to drive profits. So then I cut costs. I compromise on.
It's a great point. I think Boeing was a company of engineers. Now it's a company of CEOs. Till the time the engineers were running it, they were churning out the best aircrafts. And the culture changed in 60s when they took over McDonnell Douglas, and they became more revenue and profit oriented. You can see the results of it now. It manifested sometime 50 years ago, but the rot has set in.
Yes. Beautiful counterexample to this is NASA. NASA was run by engineers and promoted by engineers, failed miserably till you brought in a management person who actually could structure the dynamics in the room. As an example, not everything. But my point is, I think one of the things to your question, which always gets missed, and I think, sir, it is before leadership and alignment personally, is the risk of doing it. We always say in the boardrooms, what if we don't do this? What if we don't do this? And you're so passionate that you have executed an MVP or a pilot. You want to do the next stage. It's a logical human reaction to innovation. Nobody kind of really at a board level thinks, what is the risk of doing it? Like risk of retrofitting helicopters or a plane. The question in the room is, how should we fit it? The question should be, should we fit it? So for me, that's a kind of higher level agenda, personally, in the board dynamics I have seen, which is always neglected.
Therefore, you're trying to now do that pilot, and why you should do it is sort of answered. I agree that leadership alignment first of all makes the most sense, because otherwise you have the risk of trying to experiment on too many things at the same time. But along with that, there's also an alignment to a sharper focus. Are you getting the entire organization to align to pilots in every space, and then trying to figure out, okay, I have now 10 choices and let me pick the best one? So it's the decision making at the top which says, okay, here is where we want to look at piloting, and therefore we would look to invest in where we want to go, while the rest of the organization continues to run. The second, I would also say, are the metrics around what we really deem that pilot to be successful, and therefore when we roll it out. And most of the times, or I would rather say it's very few times that we have got those metrics right. And that is sort of the bane, right? If it's a technology intensive, isolated, transformation, it's a lot easier. If it's a larger one that's going to touch multiple stakeholders, it's got a regulatory impact, it's got a customer impact, and so on, who do you have on the pilot team, and what do you really make them accountable for, even during the pilot stage, becomes very important. The rest, I think, fits in, by default.
I think depends on what industry that pilot is being. If it is a mission critical one, then obviously the order will be very different. And if it is like you're in a telecom industry, you're adding a new subscription plan, you want to do a pilot. The cost of failure is just roll it back. Then it becomes a easier option. The order will change. I think it depends on what are you solving.
So from your experience, your industry.
Oh, ours is risk control compliance. So there's enormous scrutiny that goes in when we do pilot, and we take a lot of effort in doing it geographically. We gradually roll it out. We have enough kill switch mechanisms. So we know that we have enough observability, all this built. The moment anything goes wrong, we'll immediately know how to turn it off. Right. So I think we as a very risk-averse industry, we have kind of mastered the art of we are never in a hurry to pilot to production. So the cycle is usually a little longer. That is the nature of the industry.
And there's always a rollback strategy.
Yeah.
Which is also tested during the pilot.
Rollback strategy, kill switch mechanism, everything is in place. So you know that when it goes wrong, you can turn it off in few minutes.
So that becomes the priority then.
Yeah, that becomes the priority.